So I'm so excited. This is my first story time I'm going to share with you guys. So every time we have story time, we're going to have a drink of choice. So today we are having white Zinfandel Moscato, and it's in a wine glass. So this first story time is going to be how I met my father at 26 years old. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I was born in Philadelphia, PA, and all of my family is from there. They're still there, most of them. My grandma, my great-grandma, all my cousins, most of my uncles, just all of my family. My mother's side of the family is the only family that I ever knew because I didn't know my father. So when I was younger, I used to always ask my mom where my dad was. But she would always tell me that she honestly didn't know. So of course, as a child, you're not going to really ask any more questions because that's just what it is. So my mother had a total of 5 children. I was the first. She has 4 girls and 1 boy. And of course, like I said, I'm the oldest. So me, my sisters, and my brother grew up with my sister's father. So he was always my stepfather. And I just always thought, it's not fair that I don't know my father, or my father doesn't love me. He's not here. Why would he leave me? Why, all these questions were going through my head. Why doesn't his family know where I am? Why don't they reach out? Because the issue was that my great-grandmother lived in the same place. She still does till this day. The same place that she's always lived at. So I always said, well, they've been there before. Why don't they just go ahead and go there and get in touch with my great-grandma? So I always kind of felt like my family was trying to protect me from something. But then I also felt like, why isn't my father's family reaching out to my side of the family? So as I got older, I asked even more questions, but it seemed like no one could ever answer my questions, no one at all. So I started to take it into my own hands. I got a spiral notebook and I would go through the phone book. Now, mind you, all I knew about my father was his name. All I knew was that his name was Ricardo Watson. So like I said, I got a spiral notebook and I started to go through the yellow phone book. And I would go through every single Ricardo Watson that lived in Philadelphia. And I would call every single one. And that every single one, I would write down the phone number that I called. So I knew that I actually called it. There was people who hung up on me. There's people who were mean to me, or some people were really nice and said, well, you just have the wrong number. When I called them, I would say,
hello, I'm trying to find Ricardo Watson, my father.
And can you imagine getting a dial tone just because I said that? It was heart-wrenching. I mean, I'm sure they could tell that I was a child, just, trying to find their father. But I did that for some years. And then when I turned about 18 years old, I didn't do it as much. I would just go on Facebook and just try to, push in his name or on Google and see maybe if he came up. Now, mind you, I didn't even know what he looked like. So even if I found him, I would never even know it was him. So I at least tried to find him at least twice a year up until I got into my mid-20s. So I would say around maybe 22 or 23. Then it died down some because at this point, I'm like, I'm never going to find my dad. I mean, I don't know if he's dead. I don't know if he's alive. The only other thing that I knew is that he went to prison. But that was it. So sometimes I would ask my mom and she would say, be careful what you wish for. Be careful because what you may find isn't what you will want to find. because even if I saw a picture of my dad to see what I actually look like or where I came from, that would suffice. But I just had to know if he knew about me. So when I was 26 years old, I actually gave up. I'm like, I'm 26, I'm almost 30. I'll never ever meet my dad. I'll never see a picture. The only other thing that I knew is that he had a son. And that was it. So I pretty much gave up. But the weird thing is that I was talking to my best friend Zaitisha, and I was telling her that I've given up trying to find my father. And she was telling me that she actually just met her father the year before. Now, mind you, we're the same age. And his name is Ricardo too, now that I think about it. It was weird. So she, shared her story with me. And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna try one more time. So I went on Facebook and I pushed in Ricardo Watson like I did every other time. And a Ricardo Watson came up, and he looked, really nice. He had on a suit, and I had a weird feeling. I said, well, this can't be him because he looks well put together. This is not the Ricardo Watson that I've been hearing about, that's been in prison, that's, the story's been so bad that everybody's been telling me. And no one ever wants to discuss where my father is or try to help me. So I said, you know what? It's not him. I'm going to go to bed. But before I went to bed, my cousin had called me. And she said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm about to go to bed. I saw this guy. He's a playwright. And his name is Ricardo Watson. And I don't know, I had this weird feeling, but I'm just going to go to bed. She said, well, tell me the exact name, how it was, and I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to look. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed. Good night. And her name is Tamikia, by the way. I love you. And I go to bed, and I'm falling asleep, and I get a phone call. And it's my cousin Tamikia. And I said, hello? And she's like,
hey, what are you doing?
And I'm like, oh, I was just laying down. I'm about to fall asleep. And she says,
oh, well, wake up because your dad's on the line.
do you know how shocked I was? That long silence, that's how I was. Because then, on the other line, my dad says,
hi, Dante.
I couldn't believe it. So what happened was, when I got off the phone with my cousin, she went on Facebook, found him, and messaged him and asked him some questions about where my mom used to live in Philadelphia. And he basically knew everything about my family, and including my mom and where she used to live. And my cousin just knew the things that she asked no one else would know. So when I talked to him that night. We talked all night, probably till 3 or 5 in the morning. And he was telling me that he's actually been looking for me for all these years. When he first said hello, I cried because I never thought that I would ever meet him. I'm actually about to cry now. I just couldn't believe it. Anytime I think about it, I just tear up. We talked and he said that, he was looking for me, and the reason why he didn't go to my great-grandmother's house is because when he was actually in prison for 10 years because he got into some trouble. So when he got out after 10 years, he had a phone book that he kept in his house. But when he got to the house and tried to get the phone book, he found that it was gone and he couldn't find it. So he had all his addresses, phone numbers, everything. But he was asking people about me, and he just couldn't find me. He didn't even remember how to spell my name. And also, my mom named me after my grandfather. So the last name that I had wasn't my mother's last name. So it was all misconstrued. So we actually have done so much together in these past couple years. I'm 28 now, I'm about to be 29. He has already starred me in one of his plays. He believed in me to star in a play here in Maryland. I couldn't believe it. And he has just opened my eyes to so much. I talk to him all the time. He's like the best dad ever. And I'm just really glad that he opened up his arms to me, because sometimes, unfortunately, when a father meets their children after so many years, they're not really welcoming to them. So I'm very blessed that my dad still loves me and opened up his arms to me. And I'm really glad that I've met all my brothers and sisters. Like I said, I have a brother. He's older than me on my dad's side, and I believe it's about 7 or 8 of us. So I am just really excited. He has done multiple plays in many different states, including Detroit, Maryland, Philadelphia, St. Louis, just to name a few. He's written over 10 plays. I'm just so proud that he turned his life around. He is a testimony that you can turn your life around no matter what. No matter how many hardships you have in your life, no matter how much you've messed up, you can always change your life around. So he gives me the strength to always believe that I can do anything in this world, anything I ever set my mind to. So I love him so much, and this is a testimony that no matter if you're looking for your father and you're 40 years old and you think you'll never meet him ever, just keep trying. And if it's meant for you to meet your father or that family member that you cannot find, it's possible. I am a living proof of that. So I actually wrote Iyanla to see maybe if she would want to hear about my story, but I never got a response back. But on the first play that I was in, my dad actually told the crowd the story, and it really moved them. And I'm just hoping that it touched at least one person in that audience. So I know that I can't, share my story with the whole world, but maybe by me putting this on YouTube, it will touch, at least a couple people. Just so you or someone that you know doesn't feel alone. Or maybe still has some hope that you will find your father. So I hope this touched you, and if you have any questions, comment below, and make sure you guys subscribe and like this video. Bye. But she would always tell me that she honestly didn't know. So of course, oh my